Am I there? So welcome everybody to The Americans.
Woo!
Tonight we have the funny Miss Krista K from Las Vegas.
Hello.
So I want everyone to know, if they don't know you already, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into comedy? Tell us about your comedy history. So yeah, fill us in.
Okay, so I was actually working as a therapist in South Dakota when I got picked for a reality TV show called My Giant Life on TLC.
My Giant Life. Is that a real thing?
It's a real thing. And so you're required to be at least 6'6". And yeah, they interviewed me and I had told them that I always wanted to try comedy. And so long story short, I got picked for the show. They moved me to Las Vegas. They roomed me with a girl that was 6'9". And it's kind of funny because I was actually the shortest girl on the whole show because there were other women as well. So it was like my first experience being the shortest.
So really quick, if anybody is watching from around the world, we got all our favorite people in London and the UK, New York. We got people watching in France and Spain, North Africa, Middle East, Hong Kong, LA, San Diego, Vegas. So any tall girls out there, we'll even listen to some tall guys. Write in, tell us how tall you are, and we want to hear some of your tall stories. Maybe some of the funny things that people said to you in comments. Do you mind? I hate to do this to you because you look just. Can you show us how tall you are? Is that possible?
Yeah. Let me just let me unhook here, and I'll show you how close I am to the ceiling. All right, ready?
I feel so embarrassed.
There's the ceiling.
Oh my goodness.
It's like a little lower than normal, but yeah, like my arms.
If you had a ceiling fan, you would be decapitated.
And that's totally happened to me before. I like to dance around and stuff when I get ready, and it gets dangerous. So it's happened.
Tell me about the worst fan incident you've had.
Fan incident. I think it was
or sprinkler incident.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot. Although you would expect me to hit my head a little more than normal, but I'm very aware of things around my head at this point. But it still has happened. I don't remember exactly what I was doing. I had to like step on my bed for some reason. This isn't my bed. I'm just sitting on someone else's bed. But anyway, and the fan
sounds like my Tuesday.
It's just like. Yeah, Vegas, no big deal. Yeah. So the fan was actually on and I didn't, think about it. So that left a nice bruise.
Oof. And so you're from South Dakota. I've never been to South Dakota. What is South Dakota like?
Well,
Poseidon, by the way, he wants to be part of the show.
Oh, puppy.
So tell us
South Dakota is it's pretty interesting. It's very small. I grew up in a town of 3,500 people. Basically what got South Dakota in the news recently is they came out with a campaign called Meth. We're on it.
Meth?
Meth, yeah. That's the campaign. It even made it into Saturday Night Live and everything. And I was recently back there. And, I grew up there, but, you don't really notice things when you grow up in them. And then you go back and you're like, oh my God, like, this is what I grew up in. And I happen to be at this bar and this guy's like, look at you with all your teeth. I'm like, yeah.
So now I know what's sexy in South Dakota. Teeth.
Yep. Teeth.
Oh my goodness. So are you in Vegas or?
So the whole quarantine coronavirus thing actually landed me in a small town in Washington. And I ended up getting a boyfriend. So, and that's where he lives. So I've been spending time in nature and hiking and, it's been nice. But yeah, definitely a lot different than Las Vegas for sure.
So right now, not to bring the show down, but we definitely do have to just take a moment. Our country is on fire and people have had enough. Mm-hmm. What is it like where you are at? I have to say his name again, George Floyd.
Yes.
And it really hits close to home. My life partner is African American, and we deal with so much. I just see the double standard of how people treat me versus how they treat him when we go into a restaurant, when we go into a swimming pool, when we go into a hotel, when we go to the valet. There is this double standard that I am constantly reminded of. And I know a lot of people who maybe do not, live with someone who is African American or have a best friend that is African American, don't really believe that this is something that's real. And it is very, very real. And one thing that he told me, and I was so enraged when this happened, and he was like, this isn't anything new. The only thing new is that it was recorded. This has been going on all of his life. This has been going on forever. And the only difference now is that now people are being held accountable because it is being televised, it is being recorded. And so I just wanted to ask you, as far as Vegas goes, have you noticed a double standard in Vegas for African American performers and for African American employees? Or what is your experience with this double standard?
Well, my own personal experience, like, I don't know. I was trained to be a counselor, so I'm like the first person to be like, I have no idea what it is that you deal with, and I'm here to learn, like, teach me everything that you think I should know. But as far as the entertainment business, I don't know. I mean, like, Vegas is pretty diverse, and I haven't personally witnessed anything like tragic in that way. I mean, it's a pretty close knit, and we don't really judge people on size, like color of skin, like, I don't know. So it's the diversity is really embraced as far as my own
experience in Vegas.
Experience and what I've witnessed too.
What about South Dakota?
Well, the thing
is, there's no black people in South Dakota. I don't know. So, and that was actually kind of something that has been on the forefront of my mind. I grew up in a town of 3,500 people. It was we had Native Americans and white people. And I remember learning about slavery and all of this horrible things that, took place. And I just remember, like, thanking God that this is in the past, because I was ignorant. I didn't grow up. I don't know. I never witnessed anything like that. And I just remember thinking, like, thank God that's, like, over with. And it is not by a long shot, unfortunately. How can it?
No.
Side note, my mom, she's amazing. I'm living with her right now in quarantine. And she told me, she's like, Igor, this would never happen in Russia. They don't have black people there. It's too cold. I was 16 years old when I saw my first black man. I honestly, I didn't know if he was for real, so I had to touch him. And then when he turned his hand over, I was like, oh, it's just like mine. She was just literally 16 years old. She was like, like, she thought, like, she'd never seen a black man ever in her entire life.
Right.
And then we moved to America. And several years later, she calls me. She's like, Igor, I was at the pool and I got a black eye. I'm like, oh my God, did you slip? Are you okay? She's like, no, I got a black eye. I'm like, what? No, I'm dating a black guy.
Yes.
And so my mom had this amazing black lover for so many years. It was, and to imagine a Russian Jewish woman with this black guy on her arm. It was, awesome. And I remember there was one, it was around Christmas time, and we were in Denver at the time, and this is kind of like the Beverly Hills of Denver. So imagine Rodeo Drive. And she's out to eat. And we find out, she calls him out. He went up to the bathroom. She looked at his phone. He got a text from some other woman.
Uh-oh.
And my mom was a sugar mama, so she got him a Mercedes SUV.
Oh wow.
Because she was a sugar mama. When she saw that text, she went out to the valet, had them bring the car around, and took it back.
That's amazing.
Carlos. Okay, we're gonna make up a name because oops, Tyrone.
Details.
It was funny, and he wanted his car back. So he ran out the restaurant, jumped on the hood of the car.
Whoa.
And my mom was driving down Rodeo Drive with her black cheating lover on the hood of her car, like nothing was happening. And she's sitting there driving past Hermes and Neiman Marcus and Saks, and she's just sitting there like it caused a scene. The Santas and the reindeer and this random black man on the hood of his car, and the police surround the entire situation. She's out the thing, and then of course it was racially divided, where like the black officer and the white officer and the thing, and it turned into this whole, well, you shouldn't have slept with that woman. Well, you told me the thing, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And this was before we had camera phones. Can you only imagine?
Oh, dang it. Yeah.
That would have gone viral. I'm just thank God that this was before camera phones.
Oh, that'd be funny though.
Oh, and so it's so funny because now I have a black partner too. My mom's just like, you want to be just like me. You are so my son. You want just like your mother.
That's awesome.
Oh,
your mom sounds like a riot. I love it.
So tell me something. So you are a tall woman.
Yeah.
And everybody, what are some of the jokes? What are some of the awkward moments of being a tall girl? Like how is the weather up there? What is this like? What are some of the things that you've gone through?
Okay, so probably I deal with this on a regular basis. I'm taller than the stalls in public restrooms. So I've scared a lot of people. Just
wait.
pulling my pants up.
Is this you? Like this is the stall?
Yeah. And especially if I stand up to like pull up my pants, like I'm not trying to peek on the other people. But I've been yelled at before because people think I'm like a peeping Tom. Seriously. Yeah. Like insane.
Oh my God. What are some of the meanest things people said to you? Go lay down.
Some of the what, sorry?
Meanest things that people have said to you.
Meanest.
What were some of your
like I don't know how you ever find a guy, like what guy would want to date that. And I'm like, the guys that are confident, I don't care how tall you are. If you have enough confidence to approach all this, like that's the guys I want. So I feel like I have an automatic advantage to just like weed out all the insecure ones right away, you know? And then I get a lot. I did have a long career in basketball, so I'm totally stereotyped that way. So have to, right? Otherwise, I'm a waste of life. Anyway, and so basically, what's kind of annoying sometimes? It's like, oh, why aren't you in the WNBA? It's like, are you serious? I'm kind of trying to do bigger things than putting a ball in a hoop, but yeah.
So boom. I want to hear about a couple of. I'm curious if you don't mind sharing. Mm-hmm. What was your first kiss like? What was your first time like? I'm very like because that's not something like we all have our first times, and I'm just curious. Was yours a little special?
Kind of. It was kind of awkward. Okay, so I was 16 years old and I decided to date a 21-year-old, which was naughty and illegal. But but he was actually tall. So I like growing up in this teeny tiny town, I was the only tall girl. And so, and there was only like a couple tall guys. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll pick that one. He's ugly, but whatever, you know? Like, and so, yeah, the first kiss wasn't like too awkward because we were both about the same height. But
you
yeah,
chose someone that was substandard just so that it wouldn't be awkward. In a way. Is that
for sure.
So this is something very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do women choose a partner that is substandard to their own, what do you call it? Their bar. They're just, less than what they would deserve or expect because they don't want it to be like, how many times do women choose a partner that maybe is less smart than them? How many times do women choose a partner who is not as successful as them? How many times do women choose someone that is less than just to not make it awkward? Is that something that you have? And I've seen this because I work with a lot of women. I run a comedy studio called Misfit Toys, and I specifically work with transformational comedy with women. And I've seen this trend of women selling themselves short and asking for less. Do you find that that's something that has happened?
Yes. And also, I think just again with the South Dakota thing, there's limited options. So you don't really, you know, and when I was younger, I did want a tall guy, like 100%. So that takes out the majority of the population as well. So like I had these physical standards that I want, because I don't want to look too big, because I want to look feminine. I'm a girl. I need to look small. It's like, you know, that's just not going to happen. But yeah, so those were my priorities. But then as I, you know, gain education and go to bigger cities, you travel more. I'm like, oh, okay, there's a lot more fish in the sea than just, you know, some randoms in South Dakota. So we call them South Dakota acceptable. It's like, it's okay if you're like living there, but like, you know, for like the world, you might not want that to be your partner.
So what did it take? And you just said it, but I want to reiterate this. What did it take for you to demand more, to expect more?
So working on my own self-confidence and like the education and
education.
Yeah.
Your education. Yeah. And then you also mentioned traveling, getting out of your bubble.
Yep.
So once your education, traveling and seeing the world, what else raised that bar of you demanding and expecting more for yourself?
Well, honestly, like just working on my own self-worth, you know, and accepting my physical body too, because I remember there was a time where I'm like, okay, Krista, you are going to either accept your height and be happy and do something with it, or you're going to hate it literally forever and you'll just be miserable because guess what? Your height doesn't change and you have zero control over it. So it was like I had to prioritize what I can and cannot control. So
since you could not control your height, you decided to do what? You decided to educate yourself. You decided to
travel.
Change your mindset.
Right. Yep. Change my mindset. And then the TV show came along and I just thought, wow, what an amazing platform for people, you know, like me as a kid where I thought I was the only tall girl ever, you know, and now they can flip on a TV show and see people like them, you know?
I love it. I love it.
Cool.
I was talking to my partner and this just really resonated with me, what you said. How many African Americans accept less than? How many African Americans take a job that pays them less, where they accept something less than, where they're systemically taught to take less than? And I'm not saying that being tall is like being black, but yet it is something that it puts you into a minority.
Right.
And how many times when you are put into a minority, whether it is with your race, your color, your religion, that you are taught to accept less than the majority. And
it's kind of like one of those like
out of this education and travel and experiencing other worlds, other places, other states, other people. And I see this across the board. I used to live in DC and I used to teach a lot of inner city youth. And when I went to, I was lucky, I was a scholarship kid and I went to Georgetown. And I would go and I would teach in Anacostia in DC. And the kids, they would tell me when I would ask them, when we'd have our classes, I'm like, what do you want to be when you grow up? A secretary, a used car salesman, a dental hygienist. They did not want to be the CEO. They didn't even think that that was a possibility. They didn't think it was a possibility to own the dealership. They didn't think it was a possibility to be the doctor. That wasn't even in their vocabulary. And I took it back and I was like, no, we're going to go to museums. We're going to play chess. I'm going to show you that the world is your oyster, but you have to study, go to school. And that was the biggest thing, is just showing people that it is possible. And I love the fact that you have taken something that most people would take as a negative or a hardship, and you have turned it into gold. You have made a career out of this. That is amazing. That is you were such an amazing role model, and I respect you so much. Tell me about what it was like to get up on stage for the first time and talk about this to people.
So my very first time doing stand-up was actually in Hollywood at just this open mic, and it was in front of the executive producer for My Giant Life. And I was so nervous. And she kind of, the producer was like, she took me, backstage before I went on, and she's like, it doesn't matter how you do. So don't freak out. It's okay. Just talk about whatever is comfortable. Right. And so of course I had the tall jokes, and I ended up having South Dakota jokes in there. And there ended up, for some reason, being like mostly South Dakota people in the crowd. And so they were like, yeah. And so I got really lucky with my very first time. So, yeah. But I think it's, like you said, being tall, it's just an example of being different and like not fitting in. And one of the things that has been on my mind is I really wish people would stop saying like all lives matter. That just really like rubs me the wrong way.
Why? I have my own take on it, but why is it wrong? I'm not gonna say wrong. Why is it unaware? Why is it ignorant to say all lives matter?
It's extremely ignorant. And here's why I think. It's just, it's taking the focus off of what they're trying to say. And in a funny metaphor, we can use like my height, for example. Maybe this is a little easier for people to understand. But it's like if I walk into a Target and I look for 40-inch inseam pants and they don't have them. And I'm like, well, maybe we should like talk to somebody about getting longer pants around here. And then, because, tall people matter. And then all of a sudden some short guy's just like, yeah, well, all heights matter. It's like, okay, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden long pants are going to show up in Target.
You can always hem your pants.
Exactly.
You can fucking always hem your pants. No matter how short you are, you can hem your pants. And I see this metaphor, short people are like white people.
Yes.
You can always fucking hem your pants.
Yes,
you can always send your children to school without worrying they're going to get shot if they're wearing a hoodie when they're coming home from school.
Yeah.
You can't make them longer.
Yes.
Until we make the metaphorical pants longer, until we make the system safe and equal for everyone, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And I've mentioned this before on the show, but I want to tell it to you because I don't think you've heard this story. So the first time I went to New Orleans, I went for Gay Pride in New Orleans. And I was in New Orleans for about 3 hours. And I had already had sex twice, was drunk, and arrested.
Dang.
I was on Bourbon Street for Gay Pride, and they were telling me, show your butt for beads. Show your butt for beads. And so I was like, oh. So I showed my butt for beads. And it turns out they don't give you anal beads, they give you neck beads.
I don't know. That's dumb.
I showed him my butt. Now I'm switching to my big bottle. Okay. So I show them my butt and I have all these officers jump on top of me, put me against the wall and start handcuffing me. And I'm like, what the? And then this gaggle of gay bears, those big burly hairy guys, start walking by and assless chaps. And I look at the officer and I was like, wait, are you arresting me because I wax? Because their butts are out and they're just furry and they did not think it was funny. They threw me in this paddy wagon and the whole street erupted. Set him free! Set him free! And I felt like the Mandela of Bourbon Street. I was like, oh. And I walk into prison and I'm wearing my little harness and my little booty shorts and I was prison ready. And the cells are rattling and they're all, yo, Snow White, you gonna be my bitch tonight. I have never been so scared in my life. It was crazy. I sit down in the prison cell and it's the holding cell and I start talking to everybody. I'm the only white person in there. There are hundreds of inmates and I'm the only white person in there.
Yeah.
The only one. There are some Latinos, but it's mostly black. And I start talking to people because I need to make friends because I'm a little sissy gay Jew boy. And I'm trying to make friends as much as I can. And so I start talking. And what I find out is that they didn't do anything that I never did. They didn't get caught for anything that I never got caught for.
Right.
I got caught for a sack of weed back in college. I went and I fed some homeless on a Saturday afternoon and I was fine. They were in prison for 2 to 3 years and missed the birth of their daughter. The only crime that they committed was being born black and not having enough money to pay for a lawyer. Right. That was the only difference. And for the first time in my life, that was when I really was like, this system is broken. This isn't working. There is nothing, the morality is gone. It is a pay-to-play game in America. And I always heard that, but that was the first time that I was like, wow, this is the only difference. You just happen to be a little bit darker and you didn't have enough money to pay for the lawyer, which my parents did. And now your life is ruined, and now your kid doesn't have a father, and here comes this systematic racism through this system that spirals down.
Right. And
I understand 100% why everyone is in the streets, because this can't happen anymore. And we need to understand why. And it's there's so many people that haven't been in prison and haven't made friends with people in orange suits like me. They just don't get it. They just don't believe that it's real. They don't believe that it's real. Have you ever had a chance like where short people don't believe or don't even like, oh, come on, you're overreacting that you're so tall?
Yeah, I've had that. And then I've also had people that are like, geez, I'd never want to be that tall. That must really suck. I'm like, okay. And which is also offensive because you're like, no, like I'm proud of who I am, you know? And yeah, it's, I don't know. It's tough. And I mean, that's the only way I can like relate to it because I'm also different, but yeah.
Have you ever been turned away from an opportunity because of your height?
Yeah. So I did like, I remember I was like just got into college. I'm like, oh, I want to try to do some modeling. And so I just like grew a pair and called all these like major, modeling agencies. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm 6'5". This lady literally laughed at me on the phone. She's like, that's way too tall.
Are you serious? She just flat out laughed at you.
She laughed at me because it's so funny because there's a stereotype of like, oh, models are really tall. It's like, yeah, they're taller than average, but they're still like 5'10", 5'11". And I got that beat by, almost a foot. And so, yeah. And so, yeah. And that was during the time where I'm like, okay, I was trying to find, what do tall people do? Okay, play sports. Okay, I did that. Oh, model. Okay. And, you know, and I was, I really liked school. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep going to school, I guess. So it's kind of been in this trial and error process of, I'm different. I stand out. Like, I cannot blend into a crowd. So how can I use this, you know, to help other people as well, you know, because there's plenty of people that have their own insecurities that maybe aren't as obvious as being ahead above everyone else, you know? And so I want to, you know, at least be the example of that. Because if I can be confident, and especially being female too, it's not like if I was a dude that's 6'5", oh yeah, awesome dude, like chest bump, you know? It's like, oh, it's a girl. Ooh, I don't know. So I don't know.
Do you wear high heels or do you wear flats?
Mostly flats, just because I'm really scared to walk in heels because it's like it's like a farther fall for me than normal. But I definitely have worn heels. I have lots of heels. And especially when I was doing the TV show, the other girl was 6'9", so I'm like, oh, I can wear heels and still be kind of small, I guess. So yeah.
When you get on stage, give me some of your favorite moments on stage. Like, what do you talk about when you are on stage? Share with me and share with our audience that's watching. By the way, if you guys are watching, write in. We want to know where you are. We'll give you guys a shout out. So message us. Let us know who's watching, where you're watching. And yeah, tell us some of your moments on stage.
Oh boy. Well, I do talk a lot about like when I was single and dealing with men. Just for an example, not long ago, this guy came up to me to about right here, and he was like, "You make me feel like less of a man." And I'm like, "Oh, you kind of are less of a man." And so, yeah, and it's kind of funny. Oh, and then naturally I bend over and like boop him on the nose, because why not? So that has kind of been my little thing. And then now all of a sudden people are requesting boop pictures after shows. Even other comedians, like, you know, a little.
Oh, boop pictures.
Not boobs.
You're like bending over and like, okay, I'm going to boop you on the thing.
Yes. Dude.
So what were some of the funny pickup lines that you've heard where people are trying to pick you up?
Oh my gosh. I had this guy, he was like, "You are so beautiful. I just want to put you in a freezer."
Wait, what?
He's like, "You're so beautiful. I want to put you in a freezer." And I'm like, "How big is your freezer?" Like, what the heck? And then I've also had this guy that's like, "We couldn't 69 because I poke you in the neck." Turns out I like being poked in the neck. Another thing, I know most of our the viewers are in London. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was kind of thinking before this, I'm like, okay, I've never performed in London, but like, what connections do I have? And so I get a lot of interesting DMs from guys with like tall women fetishes. And one of my most memorable DM was from a guy that lives in London. And he requested, he offered me $40 for an outline of my hand.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's a hand turkey. So, yeah. And so I literally outlined my hand. He PayPal'd me right away. So I outlined my hand and sent it to London. So if you guys are out of work, you can start tracing your hands. There's someone there that will possibly buy them.
Have you ever been on a blind date? Or any other kind of like awkward date? Like, because I can imagine a blind date where like someone might have forgot to tell me. Because like I'm a short guy. Like I like traveling. I moved to Mexico just so I could feel normal.
There you go. Tall.
Like, it's like in America, and when I travel through like the Nordic countries, like as I, Finland and Sweden, I feel so short. Like I'm constantly like, I can't see. I'm in the club, in the concert, like all I smell, like I'm like at pit level to most people. Like I'm just like
be my armrest.
Yeah. So in Mexico, I'm like, oh, I'm normal. Like I'm like, okay, I can handle this. So I can imagine if someone didn't tell me. And we go in, and then I'm like, oh my God, you are like, okay, this is gonna be a jungle gym situation where I'm gonna have to climb up, get the fruit, climb back down, get up, because when I'm just gonna tell you, like when I have relations with big boys, I feel like a monkey in the jungle trying to climb up, gotta get the fruit. Climb back down, gotta get the comment, and then those legs are heavy, and I'm like, I gotta get one.
Like a workout.
Yeah. And after like 10 minutes, I'm sweating like a pig, and they're laying there just like, do me, and I'm like,
like time out.
It's work. It's hard for me. So I can imagine if I was heterosexual and you came in, I'm like, oh my God, I need to take a pre-workout. This is gonna let's do some work.
Like, come sit on mama's lap.
Yeah. See? Yes, there you go. So tell me about your experiences.
Okay, yeah. So well, I've definitely dated guys that are shorter than me. And probably the shortest was maybe like 5'8" or something. And
see, I love how I'm the shortest guy.
5'8". Yeah, I guess that's kind of tall. I don't know. Not for me, but whatever. So like when you try to spoon somebody, it's just natural for the taller person to be the big spoon. And so I've definitely tried to do that before, but then it ends up kind of feeling like I'm posing with like a koala bear where I'm like, look at my thing that I'm trying to snuggle. And then I'm like, okay, let's just like mix it up. Maybe he can be the big spoon. Why not? And it just ends up feeling like I'm wearing a backpack.
Okay, 1 second. Guys, they're getting super excited. They're getting super. Okay, I need to take these guys down 2 times. Go. Go, get out of the house. Go. My God, they're like little children. I feel for those, like when I've been calling on customer service, the first question I ask is, where are you? And then, are you working from home with children? And I feel for the women, because I have yet to meet, that's not true. I know a couple single dads, but the single moms that have 2-year-olds, 3, 4-year-olds at home while they're on the phone, and it is a madhouse, and they don't know what to do, and they're like, so do you have any suggestions for the single ladies out there that are with their children? Do you have any ideas or things that you would recommend to our single moms and single dads with these toddlers? Like, these guys are kind of like, what do you do?
Oh man. So I'm just a single mom to a wiener dog, but I know they're different than children. So I guess for me, I just go to my car. I don't know if that's appropriate. It probably depends on how old your children are. Obviously,
just leave the 3-year-old in the house and take the dog in the car. Okay. All right, Miss Krista. Okay. Love that idea. Let the children.
I don't think that's a good idea, actually. Like, don't kennel your children like I kennel my dog. Like don't do that.
So I've worked with a lot. I used to work with kids a lot. I used to run a summer camp, and I still do summer camp a lot. So my recommendation, if we got any single parents out there, take whatever used shoe boxes you have and create a computer workstation. And so you make a little desk for them with the little buttons and the little computer screen. And when it's time to work, they get to sit and work with you. because the kids, they just want to be part of what's going on. And they are so hungry to just be in it. And so if you make them a little makeshift desk with a little thingy headset too, and the thing, shh, we're making money so we can get more toys and they can play out on their thing. They are so happy. There's nothing worse than being like, shh, be quiet. That doesn't work. But hey, we're on a call. Okay, and here's the little teddy bear, and we need to make sure that the teddy bear can get his unemployment check, so we're going to make sure that Mr. Teddy Ruxpin can get food for his kids and toys too. And it actually works wonders. Like, it actually works wonders.
Way better advice than mine.
You know what? Lock him in the house and escape to the car. Why not? Why not? Now, I think if I'm not wrong, you do have a book out, yes?
I do, yes.
So tell us about your book.
Yeah. So I actually have it. So it is called Ahead Above the Rest.
Ahead Above the Rest. I love it. Okay. So you're giving advice to all the children to be locked in the house while their parents go.
Exactly. Read this. Mommy will be in the car.
So what is Ahead Above the Rest? Tell us about your idea of where did you come up with this idea? What is the book about? Who is it for?
Sure. So it's obviously a children's book. The main character is a giraffe, which takes after moi. And it just kind of represents kind of what I went through in my childhood, because I was literally ahead above the rest ever since preschool. So I was always aware that I was taller than everyone. So I wasn't one of those tall people that had a weird growth spurt in high school or something, like literally always tall. And so basically the beginning of the book is Grace is the giraffe's name, and she's just going through a lot of difficult times in school, being bullied and stuff like that. And then she kind of gets some life lessons from a butterfly when she's outside, kind of feeling bad. And those lessons are
yes, we got lots of advice.
La, 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 la. That's right. And the advice is however anyone's treating you, that's a reflection of who they are, has nothing to do with who you are. And other people have their own insecurities. And so she takes that information back to the school, which are all different animals.
So show us a couple pages inside so we can see.
Oh, yeah. And so, and then all of the other kids start disclosing their own insecurities. And then, okay, sorry. There's me trying to find clothes that fit. And then so I have different characters, kind of they focus on different things. Like, so the zebra is kind of bummed that he's only black and white because he wants to be colorful like the parrot. So yeah, and then the whole Hope the hippo, she doesn't like how big her butt is. We got Radiance the rhino that doesn't like her big nose.
Oh, I love it.
And so it kind of sums it up. The main thing we all have in common is that we are different. And when you learn to love who you are, you can be a head above the rest, no matter how tall you are.
I love it. I love it. And if I wanted to buy this for my kids, can I just go onto Amazon? Is it?
Yeah. Amazon, and it ships worldwide.
So Ahead Above the Rest. Is it in different languages or is it only in English?
Only in English for now.
Okay, we need to translate this into Spanish. I can do it in Russian. I can do it in French for you. So we need to work on that.
Ooh, okay.
Did you illustrate it or did you have someone draw it? How did this happen?
Sure. So it was when I was talking to one of the producers to My Giant Life. They said, now that you have a platform, and you're with your education, because I kept saying, like, I want to still use my education in some way. I don't want to just flush all that, all those
education. So now, what do you mean by education?
Oh, so because I have a master's degree in psychology.
Oh, okay. So this thing is ahead above the rest in more ways than one. She plays basketball. She's got a master's. She's a brilliant comedian. I mean, okay, respect.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, it's basically the perfect recipe to like make myself undateable, you know, because like a little intimidating in like every category.
I mean, honestly, you got to come correct. Like, okay, you cry, like you know, you're gorgeous, you're successful, you're brilliant, you're confident. You basically emasculated like
Everyone.
kind of the male population right there. Like, it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough.
Right.
Do you have a hard time finding love?
Well, up until a couple months ago, yes, but I do have a boyfriend right now, and he's absolutely amazing. And he's also tall. I'm still a little taller than him though, so he can't mess with me. But he's hilarious, and he's just like supports whatever I do. You know, I've dated a lot of guys that will get like jealous, or they almost like, you can kind of tell they secretly don't want you to be successful, because I'll be like, look at all this stuff I'm doing that I'm accomplishing, and they're like, uh-huh. Cool. And so, yeah. Anyway, but he's great. So I have high hopes for this one.
That's good. Okay, so you're at the, I guess I got sidetracked. So you're at the show, you have this platform, and the producers tell you.
Yes. So he was basically like, because of the platform, you know, you can still use your education and do a book. So, and he connected with me with an illustrator that has a lot of experience illustrating and writing his own book. So I had a meeting with him, and I told him my story, and he's like, yep, that'll be awesome. And yeah, long story short, I have a book.
I want to give a shout out. Bonsoir, Sefedine Louati. Je pense que c'est Sefedine Louati. Donc, bonsoir. Je pense que tu es en France, je sais pas, mais merci beaucoup pour être ici avec nous. C'est super cool. I hope I didn't butcher his name, but I'm trying my best. I was obsessed with the French language and French culture growing up. And I was a nerd. Like, I was a big nerd. And I took French.
Oh. Hello? Hello? I don't know what happened. Oh. I think we're still on, maybe. I don't know. I'll do a little dance. La 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 la. Just kidding. I'm just gonna sit here awkward. Wonder what's going on. I don't speak French, but hello. Do 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 do. Wonder if this is still live. Huh. You're in the show. Everyone can see you and hear you. Awesome. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I think we were talking about. Okay. Iggy should be back shortly. Perfect. So I think we were. Oh, hello, Cassidy. Thank you. This is my first time doing this, so I'm not really sure what's going on. So thanks for bearing with us here. I know he is all the way in Mexico, so maybe there's some Wi-Fi connection issues. But it's probably a good time to answer any questions. Any questions or anything that you guys have to say. I could answer those for you guys if you have anything. Yeah. I'm still live. Thank you, Cassidy. I appreciate it. Oh, yep. It's crazy getting used to all this new technology, you know, during all the quarantine stuff. So maybe a question I can ask you guys if you want to send some responses in, as what has been something positive that you have taken from being quarantined and from this whole COVID-19 thing? I know me personally. Oh, P&W. So that is exactly what brought me to the P&W. All of my shows started getting canceled in Las Vegas, and I was kind of talking to this guy that lives in Enumclaw, Washington. And so I'm not sure if many people know where that's at, but it's outside Seattle, like 45 minutes southeast. Yeah. But that's, so I just decided to drive up here. I was actually supposed to have an Australia comedy tour the first 3 weeks of April, and all of that ended up getting canceled. And so so all that got canceled. So I have been up here for like, I don't even know, almost 3 months. And yeah, it's beautiful. So Iggy actually just sent me a chat saying something's wrong with the internet or something.
There we go.
So we will just go ahead and close the show. Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay. So thank goodness I'm off the grid. So like I literally this place here where this is a resort that my family runs. It's a little teeny eco resort, and we make our own electricity. We have our own water, our own gas. We're not connected to the city. It's like glamping. So it's like a really nice tent, but we are completely separated from civilization. And so whenever there's a giant gust of wind, everything just goes out. So thank you for holding down the show.
You. Got it.
While I went out. I appreciate it. we have a couple minutes left. We got where do we leave off of? Oh, I was being a nerd, and I would translate Janet Jackson songs into French on my way to the school bus.
That's awesome.
That's how nerdy. That's how nerdy I was. What were you, a nerd or were you a cool girl?
I was kind of high school, I was definitely like an athlete and kind of didn't prioritize school that much. But then I got recruited to play college basketball, and you need a certain GPA to even be able to play basketball. So I'm like, okay, I need to obviously prioritize school. And I literally went to college to play basketball. I did not go to I didn't have I need a degree. I'm like, well, whatever. Like, the degree was a secondary, like, oh, cool, I got a degree while I was playing basketball. But then when I got into my master's program in psychology, all of those classes were so interesting to me. So I was like, yeah, 4.0, because it was everything I wanted to study. So yeah.
We have a lot of people that watch the show who are aspiring comedians. Mm-hmm. And women, men, all shapes, colors, races, sizes, from all over the world. And they have a voice that they feel needs to get heard. Mm-hmm. What is some advice that you can give to our viewers about, how to start in comedy? Is it like, just what would you tell, your younger comedic self, and what would you tell young budding comedians today? What advice do you have to impart?
I would just encourage people to find their own voice and to find what's unique about you. It could be literally your biggest insecurity. I know that was for me. I hated being tall. I'd wish every day I would get shorter, but it didn't work. But
wait a minute. So what you're telling me is you need to look at the thing that causes you the most pain, the thing that you're the most embarrassed about, the thing that is the hardest thing for you to accept, mm-hmm. and take that and do what with it?
You can spin it into a positive, and it's almost like your own therapy too, because now you're challenged to look whatever that is in the face and be like, well, this is who I am and this is what I'm dealing with. And so now adding a sense of humor to whatever that is helps you cope, and it makes you unique, and you can demonstrate that on a stage and actually inspire other people that might be dealing with something similar. And so it's like you're also helping people in the same breath. I
love that concept. That's how That's what I believe true comedy is about. Do you know what is alchemy? What is the art of alchemy? It is the art of turning lead into gold.
Yeah.
And what is lead? Lead is the darkest, heaviest thing and element, and taking that dark shadow, that heaviness that weighs you down, that element, and turning it into gold. And being a true alchemist, being a true magician is what a comedian's all about. And I want to say thank you so much for showing us that it's possible to turn lead into gold, because you really have done that. And you were such an inspiration. And we can't wait to see what's coming next. Please show us your book one more time so that everyone can know where to find it. We have A Head Above the Rest. I love it. If I want to connect with you on social media, where do I go?
So Krista K Comedy. Instagram's kind of my main one, but I'm on Twitter and Facebook.
Of course, yeah. So Krista, it's what? K. Go ahead.
Okay. Yep. It's KRISTAKAY, and then comedy. COMEDY.
Love it. So Krista K Comedy on Instagram. That's where we can find what your next show is, your next project is. That's how we can connect to you. I love it. I can't wait to see what's coming next. Before we go, we have a couple minutes. Where do you see the future of the world going? What do you think is going to become the new norm? And what would you like the new norm to be?
Comedy-wise, or just in general?
Up to you.
Whatever. Well, I really hope, actually, while you were offline for a second, I actually asked the question to everyone to see if they would have something to say, as what is the positives that you've experienced during, the quarantine and the coronavirus? Because I've personally had a lot of positive things happen, and that is prioritizing family, friends, really, really taking time to slow down and reorganize things. I've gone through a lot of transformation in that sense, because now all of a sudden I have time to do things that I've wanted to do but have been too busy, and so I really hope that stays, like that's the future, where we connect with people, and we kind of have a different perspective on what truly matters. And I think comedy, it's unfortunate that we're considered non-essential, and because I think it's so important to just have a sense of humor, because there's a million things going on right now that we have no control over, but we can still have a sense of humor about it. Because it's my number one coping method anyway. So, and I like to be able to share that, with the world too. So
I love it. So this being thankful for something that has forced us to reprioritize and to really put things into perspective.
Yeah. And more unity, coming together. Just in every category possible, like we need to come together. And that's why it's kind of sad that, everyone's fighting each other. It's like, we need it. This is the time to come together. And I don't know. It's unfortunate, but I do think it's happening, even though it looks bad. And, and I think I'm just really optimistic about where we're going to be coming out of this too.
I 120% agree. Right now, the world is cleaning out its closet. And when you clean out your closet, you throw everything out into the bedroom, and it looks like a disaster. So to get the closet clean, it's going to get messy. There's going to be a disaster. But once we put it back in, it's going to be gorgeous. And so right now, we are sifting through the metaphorical mess of our past and going through what was unnecessary and tossing it out. But when we get through this, it is going to be amazing. And I just want to thank you so much for joining us. This has been an honor and a pleasure. You are hilarious. You are inspiration. So thank you so much. To all our viewers, I want to say thank you. If you didn't catch us live, don't worry. You can grab the link and you can watch us, you know, at your own leisure, and catch us next week on The Americans. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.